I believe that private schools should be private and not become funded by the government, because ironically, if they are funded by the government, they become public schools, really, subsidized by the taxpayers. In Idaho, we have a constitutional prohibition against giving money to religious schools that dates back to the founding fathers of Idaho. So those who want to privatize schools in Idaho basically want to do an in-run around the Constitution of Idaho by passing a voucher bill, because they know that once that first dollar flows to a private school, it also has to flow to religious schools based on the U.S. Supreme Court decisions. So essentially, they will be amending the Idaho Constitution by law rather than by a constitutional amendment, which the Constitution requires. Those who want to privatize education want to basically privatize the public schools in the United States. Idaho's not an island, it's just the next target. People who want to privatize education in this country and in this state have been pounding and pounding and pounding and pounding that our schools are failing our students, when in fact they're not failing our students in the state of Idaho. In fact, we're overachieving considering how much we invest in education in the state of Idaho. Now, does that mean our public schools are perfect? Absolutely not. That's why IBE is all about strengthening our public education system. We have far too many students that aren't proficient in reading and math. But you don't destroy the public schools, then expect them to get better. You don't take money, especially when we are last in the country for spending, and make them better by taking money away from them. What you do is you focus on making them better. We're spending the 50th in the United States on education, but we are doing so well on the NAEP scores. In other words, we are overachieving. Private schools don't have to release any of they don't have to give the same assessments that the state does. We don't even know what assessments they give because they don't have to make them public, right? So basically, the privatizers are beating up the public schools, saying that they're failing because of the test scores that the public schools are required to give, while the private schools get a free ride. Public schools have to make all their test scores public. They have to make their budget public. They have to hold hearings on their budget. The public can come in and they can protest a decision that the locally elected school board has made. There's all kinds of accountability and all kinds of transparency in the public school system. But there is no transparency or accountability in the private school system. They don't have to release their test scores. They don't have to tell the public how they're doing. If they get tax dollars, taxpayers don't know whether their tax money is being spent effectively or efficiently or even legally, because there's no transparency. Private schools don't have boards that are elected by the people. Look, even if we have vouchers in Idaho, the lion's share of kids are going to be in public schools. We can ill afford to take our meager investment in education and start the downward spiral of those schools, because frankly, the future of our state depends on education. These kids are the future of our state. And if our schools deteriorate, if our schools have a downward spiral because we're trying to feed too many school systems, our future of our state is going to suffer. It's going to suffer in two ways. First, it's going to suffer because our kids aren't going to get the great education that our Constitution requires. And secondly, it's going to suffer because we're going to have to pay more as taxpayers to support 3 different school systems.